The NCAA tournament is in full swing, and we have another locked on bracket breakdown as the number 6 seed Kentucky Wildcats beat the 11th seeded Providence Friars 61-53. I'm Isaac Shade, and we're joined now by the host of Locked on Kentucky, Lance Daw. Lance, Kentucky takes a nice, just kind of cruises through the second half to get this comfortable 61-53 lead over Providence. It felt like they were in control most of the second half. What did you see from John Calipari's team coming out of halftime?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to acknowledge is the first half had a decent amount of pace to it, right? And you saw in the second half just a lot of inconsistent shooting from both sides. It looked like Kentucky was going to maybe allow Providence to have some sort of run there at some point, but Kentucky extended their lead again late. Got a few free throws to go down to kind of help that out. Kentucky in this game, first and foremost, control the boards and just clamp down on defense. I mean, Providence had a really, really hard time doing what they're comfortable with doing on offense. And at the end of the day, it did just amount to Kentucky playing a little bit better defense in that second half. It was just some really inconsistent shooting again from everybody. But I will say, I do like the shot selection. Don't get me wrong. The shots, they didn't go down. But for the majority of the season, I've been complaining about the fact that Kentucky has had some really weird shot selection, especially when it comes to taking so many mid-range looks. And in this game, I believe in the second half, they started out with 3 of them. I literally tweeted out, I'm just like, stop it, like quit. You don't need that. You don't need that. And Kentucky got to the rim consistently. I think even in their scoring droughts, they were still able to get good looks at the rim. And that's how they got it done. Just simply better defense and good shot selection.
We've seen Antonio Reeves be the man lately for the Wildcats in terms of scoring 3 straight games now, scoring over 20, has done that in 4 of 5, including that 37 against Arkansas in the regular season finale, had 22 tonight. What has he meant to this Kentucky squad down the stretch here?
Well, I'll tell you what he's been for this team that they've not had, or at least they didn't have last year, is they didn't have a consistent bucket getter at the guard spot, somebody that could handle the ball and be somebody you can look to, not just in late game situations, but throughout the contest. And like you said, third game in a row scoring 20 plus. He had 22 tonight, 5 of 9 from deep. I mean, this kid's just got a pure shot, just beautiful form, great execution, great decision making, and deciding when to pull tonight. I think you see that across the board throughout this season with him. Just good decision making. His teammates set him up really, really well, especially in the fast break. Providence had a couple of breakdowns in this game where they just left him trailing and left him open, and he took advantage. It's just a pure shooter. He's your bucket getter. He's your scorer. You'll notice that 22 points, no assists. I mean, he's out there to do one thing, and it's score and play a little defense. He is your typical 3-and-D type of guy. So yeah, it's just executing on what were, Isaac, some really interesting rims. Before this game, they were making some adjustments to the rims. Apparently they weren't even. Apparently something was going on with them. In the previous game, Iowa State shot 23% on that end of the floor, and Pittsburgh shot poorly on that end of the floor as well, where Kentucky was warming up. The Wildcats didn't get to warm up in this one much because they were still adjusting to that. And every time you saw a shot go off the rim, I'm like, those are the tightest rims of all time. But Antonio Reeves was able to find the bottom of the net 5 times, though.
Yes, that Pittsburgh-Iowa State game, crazy. The Cyclones scoring just 41 points. Lance, we got to talk about reigning National Player of the Year, Oscar Shibway, who does not have to be the guy to score the ball the entire game to affect it in a major way. In fact, falls 2 points shy of a double-double and yet has 24 rebounds. What is it that he does to affect this team's ability to win in a multitude of ways?
Well, one of Kentucky's best forms of offense is getting those extra looks, right? And Oscar Shibway has been the centerpiece of this Kentucky rebounding attack for going on 2 years now. And you've got other pieces like Chris Livingston and Jacob Toppin, and then Damian Collins off the bench, guys that will fight really hard for you down low. But it is, at the end of the day, what Shibway has done for this team, allowing them to get those extra looks at the rim. You saw at one point at the beginning of this game, Kentucky missed 4 different shots, and every single time Shibway grabbed that rebound. It is crucial for this team, especially if they want to make a push in what is now a wide open East region. If they want to make a push here, they're going to have to continue to get those rebounds from Oscar Shibway. It's about positioning. It's about finding the ball in the air. He's just got a natural knack for it. And it really does allow this offense to not just open up in the paint whenever you go for putback looks, but also it allows you to go for maybe some outside shots, kick it out to your 3-point shooters. Antonio Reeves, Jacob Toppin's been hot as of late. It really just does allow your offense to do a little bit more. And then it wears the opposing team out mentally. Not only is Shibway down there banging down low against guys like Ed Croswell, but you are getting to see them mentally wear out, seeing the same guy get the board again and again and again. I could sit here and say again 25 times, Isaac, but I'm going to cut it off there. But the point being, it does help this offense immensely for what they want to do.
Yes, indeed. And that East is wide open because Purdue just became the second ever 1 seed to lose to a 16. Now, Lance, looking ahead, we don't know Kentucky's next opponent for Sunday, but it will be the winner of Kansas State and Montana State. Opponent aside, what are you looking for from the Wildcats moving forward?
Well, I'm looking for them to not shoot 36% from the floor again. I think that's certainly where I need to start. And I'm also looking for, look, if we're talking about teams that make runs in March, we think of good defense, we think of efficient offense, and then we think of teams that can close games out, right? And Kentucky has been really inconsistent at doing that all season long. They got a really nice win here against Providence. They were able to close this game out relatively strong. A couple of inbounds plays there late that I'm a little confused by, but I'm sure Kentucky will clean that up. It is about closing out. And so, look, if you get Montana State, if you get Kansas State, Kansas State's a really solid defensive team. You've got to be able and go out and just grind another win out, survive and advance. What I want to see out of them is not falling flat in the second half and making sure that you do find some more consistent shooting and getting better bench play. I mean, I can pull up the stats right now for you, Isaac. No points from the bench tonight for the Wildcats, and they didn't really record a whole lot of statistics overall, just 2 shots taken from the bench, and both of them were missed. You need to have more production. Getting Severe Wheeler back will be very important for this team because they have 1 point guard right now. 1.
Well, Cason Wallace is that man. It's great to see him leading the show. For more on the Kentucky Wildcats, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Kentucky. And for a full view of the bracket and all the action, make sure you subscribe to Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.